All right, we're going live right now. Actually, I apologize because I got the time wrong, but we're streaming live. I know it's not 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock Central Time. It's probably 7 o'clock Central Time. I apologize, but I'm also having some issues with my internet connection. Let's see if anybody comes into the room. I'm streaming here from Cabo, San Lucas. And let's see if anybody comes into the room. I had some technical difficulties getting the internet working. I apologize for that. And you might get cut off. We might get cut off on the stream. I apologize for that too, because apparently the hotel internet isn't very good. I have a hotspot that I tried to, oh, Pat, I'm sorry, Pat. You know what? What happened is that usually Monterrey and Mexico, they don't change time. They don't change they quit using the daylight savings time. And actually I kept thinking that Central Standard Time was 1 hour behind when it's actually 1 hour ahead. And then now I'm on Pacific Time, kind of, sort of, in the sense. And I apologize deeply that I didn't come in on time. Prophet, thanks for coming on. Cindy, how are you doing? This is the view from my hotel room right here. These are the famous arcos of Cabo. I have to apologize for my camera quality. I'm using an iPad. Also, if the sound quality is not coming around too well, I apologize for that also. The reason why the camera quality, I'm using the front camera on my iPad. I apologize, but I'm coming to you from Cabo San Lucas. Welcome people to my live stream. I promised you guys that I would do a live stream when we got here. I was gonna do it a little bit earlier when I first got here, but the internet connection here is not very good. Then I tried a hotspot. I brought a hotspot with me. And like I would like to tell you guys, I'm coming to you from Cabo San Lucas. Yes, I paid for all of this. No YouTube revenue went to this beautiful resort. And I don't do any GoFundMe campaigns. And I actually had to pay an extra $80 to get this internet connection, which isn't very good. I don't know why, but even with the upgraded internet, I'm not doing very well here. So hopefully it doesn't cut off. So I'm here from Cabo San Lucas to answer your questions. I have, people in the pool in the background. I hope you can see the famous arcos here. I think the sun going down. Let me see if I can get it a little bit better. I'll adjust the camera maybe a little bit better here. And see if I can't get the ISO down a little bit or something here. But, I don't know. But hopefully you have a beautiful view like I do. Okay. I'm going to answer some questions here. And this is going to be a format of Ask Me Anything About Mexico. I didn't have any subjects to cover today other than I'm coming to you from Cabo San Lucas, just so you can get an idea. It's great down here. We're having a great time. As I've said in my previous live streams, I really hadn't been to Baja California, and this is the first time. It's beautiful down here. We went to the Arcos. It's beautiful in the Arcos. We're staying. We got to see where the Pacific meets the right on the other side of the Arcos is the Pacific Ocean. It's beautiful here. Big Gus Garcia was asking, do you know what time the police escorts leave the city of Nuevo Laredo? Usually the police escorts are there in the morning at around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, but they're not there all the time. Also, I also did a video about how things are getting kind of bad in Nuevo Laredo, and also in the state of Tamaulipas in general. So I don't know if they're offering those police escorts through the town. If they are, it's usually during the day, and what they will do is they will gather a group of people, escort them, and then come back and gather the next group of people. So if you get there, just ask at the bridge where the police escorts are, and they'll try to take you through. You might have to wait a little bit. Like I said, I don't know if they're offering them right now, because when things get bad and they start closing down schools and stuff like that because of cartel violence, sometimes they don't even have the police escorts. Right now, I don't really advise traveling through Nuevo Laredo at all, to be honest with you. As a matter of fact, my last safety alert video, if you saw, that shooting that was going on in was actually in the Columbia Bridge, which is supposedly safer than crossing at the Laredo crossing. So, I really gotta say I wouldn't advise going to Nuevo Laredo. I would use it as a last resort, last resort. And actually, I even advise not even going through Eagle Pass. The problem is the violence has spilled into Coahuila. But I think it's probably going to calm down in the next couple of weeks. So the alternative would be to go through Eagle Pass. And Pat Vega was saying, here, let me see if I can move this a little bit so I can see it a little bit better. Thank you. Mexican peso is doing well. Yes, it is. But it is stabilizing around 17. To be honest with you, it did go below the 17 mark. That's a good thing for if you're 17. When I came in 2017, actually I've been coming back and forth longer than that. But when we moved and we bought our house, it was at about 17. But we don't know. There's a lot of things that are affecting the market right now, and there's no telling. To be honest with you, there's no telling on what's going to happen with the peso. It could stabilize at 17 and it could go down. To be honest with you, I'll tell you what. I've read different articles. My father-in-law is an economist. His attitude or his view on it, he's an actual economist and a professor, ex-professor at the Tech here in Monterrey. His attitude is that there is very, very volatile and nobody really knows. I've seen predictions that it's going to go down to 16 or 15, and I've seen predictions that it's going to go back up soon. It's just like the stock market. So it's just one of those things. And let's see here. Gus, thanks for the intro. Pat Vega, frozen. I'm frozen. I'm telling you what, I'm probably frozen. If I'm frozen, it's probably because of the internet here. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna type here. Am I still frozen? I haven't seen Sammy yet, but I have my shirt from his bar. I have my shirt. Actually, I went to Cabo Wabo Bar, and I actually were the bar that Sammy Hagar owned. I didn't get to see Sammy Hagar, but I actually went. And I had to get a t-shirt, and I had to wear it on this live stream because that's part of my heritage. Sammy Hagar all the way, Cabo Wabo. And not only that, I can drive 55, and I followed him all through his days with Van Halen. So I had to go. We actually went the first day that I got here. We actually went the first day to the Cabo Wabo bar. Okay, I'm not frozen anymore. I might freeze a little bit here and there, but that's because of the internet connection that I ended up having to pay $80 for, that supposedly I'm supposed to get like gaming quality internet, but I'm not getting it. I try to test it, and hopefully it's good enough. And like I said, I can't drive 55. I had to go to the Cabo bar. So, have you been to Dos Santos? Actually, tomorrow we're going to Dos Santos. Todos Santos, not Dos Santos. Todos Santos, and we're actually going to La Paz tomorrow. We rented a car. We're going to La Paz tomorrow, and we're going to stop in Todos Santos. I have to stop in Todos Santos because that's where the Hotel California is. And of course, that's part of my heritage. And so my rock heritage. So I'm going to be there too. I'm going to make sure I take some pictures. I'll probably post them on my YouTube channel of the Hotel California. Hopefully we'll find it. But we rented a car, and tomorrow we're going there. So I will be there tomorrow. Any other questions? Any other questions about Mexico? The other thing that I like to address is that one of the things that we hear, I made a joke here about Retired Life at the very beginning. I said, hey, no GoFundMe campaigns. I paid for none of this went, all this all inclusive resort. None of it came from YouTube funds. The point I'm trying to make is, here at Retired Life in Mexico, we're trying to build a community, a real community. A community of people that help each other out. I don't know everything. I can tell you right now, I'm not an expert. As much as I've lived here, worked with the Mexican government, I've already said this already. I'm not an expert in Mexico. And the good thing about this is that I brought up these different subjects, and I always have somebody come up with something that I didn't know, or maybe I overlooked, or I knew, but I just didn't say because, hey, but I'll give you an example, and this is an example that I'm trying to give about building a community. I was talking about the citizenship, if you look at my live stream about citizenship. And one of the ways to get citizenship is to get one of the ways to seek naturalization is that you're a descendant of Actually, you can get citizenship by birth, even though your parent has died and your parent never fixed up their Mexican citizenship, and they actually have a lawyer and they're actually going through the process. I don't know if they're going through the process, but a lawyer told them that they could do it. And I am very aware of that process. And the grandfather is a Mexican citizen, and she's going through the process right now. And the father died, and so, and the father never fixed their citizenship. And they're going through that same process that this individual was talking about. It's a long, arduous process. They've been going through this process for about a year, 2 years, because basically they have to legitimize the father, even though he's dead, as a Mexican citizen. And the other thing about this process is you have to have all the paperwork. And sometimes getting all the paperwork is not very easy. But in this case, my ex-sister-in-law had all the paperwork. So this person brought up this process, and I had to clarify that no, actually, I was talking about the naturalization process, because the naturalization process, you can actually apply for naturalization as being, for example, a descendant of a Mexican citizen. For example, your grandfather, your grandmother. But what the beauty of building this community is that somebody can come out and say, hey, Ernie, you forgot to talk about this, or hey, Ernie, you're wrong. As a matter of fact, even one individual not too long ago was telling me, hey, Ernie, you're wrong about Mexican citizens being able to get a tip, because my husband got a tip all the time. Well, I didn't mention it, but the truth is, it's because I didn't mention it because I was talking about expats, but the truth is you can get as a Mexican citizen, you can get a tip, but you have to be a permanent resident in the United States. They have an exception for Mexicans that are living outside of Mexico. But I didn't discuss that. So this is the community that I'm trying to build, that you guys help each other out. Not just me telling you what's going on or what the laws are, but it's a matter of all of us helping each other out. And that's what I'm trying to build. A free community, not one that you have to pay to make a YouTube video, not one that you have to give me donations, not one that you have to pay me for consultations. Like I said, I have free consultations. I want to build a community that we can help each other out. My Facebook group, I try to keep it free of drama. I try to, and even when people start saying, use the search function, those types of things, I always say there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with there's no such thing as a stupid question, and I encourage people to ask questions. So this is about community, and I think I wanted to make this live stream about the community, building the community. Not only that, I wanted to make sure that you guys, I wanted to bring you from this beautiful Cabo San. Next month, I'm going to be in Cozumel. Hopefully, I can get a good internet connection. I'm going to do a live stream from Cozumel. I'm using a mobile app right now. Hopefully, you enjoy the view. I don't have all the fancy software that I have when I'm normally at home. Let's see, there's another question here. Why is there so many cars without plates in Nuevo Laredo? Gus, you'll find on the border. Let me first explain the border to you. Probably why you won't see a lot of plates. Most of them, I hate to say it, when I always see when I see a car without plates, there's two things. They usually brought the car from the United States, and they don't register it, and it's kind of a Nuevo Laredo, anywhere 22 kilometers within the border is considered basically a free zone. So what happens is a lot of people buy cars in the United States, take them into Mexico. Actually, there was a program that the president actually put into place to try to legalize these vehicles that everyone was buying. The second thing is a lot of people that don't have plates is they're stolen vehicles. A lot of them are cartel they use these vehicles that they steal. So there's a reason why they don't have plates. They don't want, it's stolen. And then since they're cartel, they're not stopped by the police and that type of thing. But it doesn't mean just because a car doesn't have plates in Nuevo Laredo or in Reynosa or on the border, doesn't mean that the individual is a cartel. All it means is that usually that vehicle is either stolen and utilized by cartel, or maybe even stolen and purchased by an individual who can't afford to buy a car here in Mexico. The second thing is that possibly they bought it in the United States because they can't afford a car here, and they took it from the United States to Mexico, and they're driving it in the free zone. As a matter of fact, I just had Chasing the American Dream is going to be going back to New York to take their car back. And one of the things they asked, because I had advised them to go through Eagle Pass, there's a Banjercito where you return your tip probably several kilometers in towards Allende on the highway. And they were saying, well, if we turn our tip in and then we drive from Allende to the border, what happens if the cops stop us? Well, the cops can stop you for speeding or whatever, but the tip isn't going to be an issue because you're in a free zone. Actually, Baja, where I'm at right now, is a free zone. You technically don't need a tip to drive around in the free zone. Now, you do need a tip if you leave the free zone, okay? So just remember that. You do need a tip if you leave the free zone, but like a lot of individuals from California bring their vehicles down here, drive down here without a tip, and they're fine. And let me see here. Laura Barton, that makes it no bull. That's why I call myself no bull, exactly. Rick Grand, Hotel California was sold, new ownership recently. I didn't know that. To be honest with you, I'll tell you what, Ricky, I'll tell you what, I didn't even know that the famous Hotel California was in Todos Santos. We were looking at tours here at the resort. We decided we're just gonna do it, explore. We decided we're just gonna rent a car and go down there. We decided not to take the tour. But one of the things they said is, oh, this is where the famous Hotel California was. And believe it or not, after all my years of being an Eagles fan, I didn't know, to be honest with you, that Hotel California. I did know about the Cabo Wabo. I did know about Sammy Hagar's relationship to Cabo, but I didn't know about the Hotel California. So actually, this is even newer news that it was recently sold. Hopefully I'll still get some pictures there at the Hotel California. And Wilfredo, hola a todos desde Arlington, Texas hoy. I guess you're in Arlington, Wilfredo. Yes, a lot of them are salvage vehicles. Actually, I'll tell you a story about the salvage vehicle. My brother-in-law purchased a salvage vehicle from the U.S. Believe it or not, for one of his daughters that was going to come here to college. And the problem with salvage vehicles and getting a tip is if it's a salvage vehicle, it doesn't have a proper title. And my niece was driving around in the salvage vehicle there in Texas, in South Texas. And it came time for her because she comes to the Tech. She's actually attending law school at the Tech here in Monterrey. Well, not here, I'm in Cabo, but in Monterrey in Mexico. And when he went to go get the tip, they told him, this is a salvage vehicle. You can't get a tip on a salvage vehicle. So that's another reason that a lot of people will buy salvage cars in the U.S. and bring them over here. You are totally right, Josenia, Monsi, and Hosea. And you are totally right about that, about the salvage vehicles. And that's also another reason why a lot of individuals don't have plates. Also, that's another reason why the Mexican president did start this program. I also apologize if I'm looking to this side because I'm looking at the screen, but I'm on an iPad Pro, which has a camera over here, and I'm not so used to looking straight at the camera. So if I'm looking a little bit off, you got to excuse me here. What land border do you recommend? Destination Jalisco. To be honest with you, Big Gus Garcia, it depends where you're coming from. It really does depend where you're coming from. Jalisco, probably, I know a lot of people come through the Texas border. And right now, like I said, I did do a video about how Coahuila and Tamaulipas and Nuevo Leon are not really safe right now. What has happened, and I'll explain to you what's going on so that you kind of get an idea. And most of my warnings don't come from because you're going to attack foreigners, but the problem is that violence is heated up on the border, and you just don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. No foreigners have been affected right now. Even the shooting at Columbia Bridge, the authorities were able to stop the traffic at Columbia Bridge going inbound to Mexico while all of this stuff was going on. So it's been lucky so far. Nobody has gotten hurt other than, of course, government officials that have been fighting soldiers and also cartel. There's been several deaths as a result of these confrontations, but nobody innocent. We're even talking Mexicans. No innocent people have actually been killed in these confrontations. But what happened recently was a cartel leader did get arrested, and the cartel decided to fight back in retaliation to the government. And there's been a lot of fighting going on in the states of Nuevo Leon. The thing about the Columbia Bridge, it's actually in the state of Nuevo Leon. There's a small strip of the state of Nuevo Leon that goes from Columbia down to Monterrey. Closed down schools in Nuevo Laredo. They've closed down public transportation, but they have sent in reinforcements. So normally what happens in these cases, and here's the thing, I hate to say it's going to be fine because we never know what's going to happen in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I always advise that just keep an eye on what's going on as if there is any violence. There's several news outlets or even Facebook groups of the violence in Nuevo Laredo if it's still going on. But since the government, even Coahuila, has gotten involved because the violence has kind of spilled over, and there's kind of a freeway that goes to Piedras Negras where Eagle Pass is, and that's why I said don't cross an Eagle Pass. Now that the government has taken kind of control and kind of calmed it down, I wouldn't go through Nuevo Laredo. I would say Eagle Pass is probably your best bet, but you still need to be careful, and you still need to make sure that no violence is going on. Eagle Pass is probably the safest right now in the sense of crossing, but you still have to be aware of what's going on. If you're planning on leaving in a couple of weeks, like I said, this started a couple of weeks ago. It usually takes the government 3 to 4 weeks to get everything under control. or the wear out the cartel, that the cartel decides that we're not going to keep fighting you. The other thing is that both the Gulf cartel and the Noreste cartel, the one that the Gulf cartel that controls Tamaulipas, and Noreste that controls the other part of Tamaulipas with Nuevo Laredo, they're also in a fight right now with another cartel for control. So they have to kind of divide their time, so to speak. They're fighting the government, but at the same time, they're getting incursions into their territory. But at the same time, that's a cause for concern because there may be some type of violence outbreaks in that area. And that's totally random violence outbreaks. It's not planned like the one just recently. So I would say, now, if you can, probably going through Arizona would probably be your best bet. Nogales, Arizona is probably your best bet if you can. I wouldn't go through El Paso. I wouldn't go through Tijuana. And if you really need to go through the Texas border, Eagle Pass is probably your only bet. And I wouldn't go anytime like super soon. For example, American Dream, I think, is going back in 3 weeks, and I said it should be calm by then, but check things out. Make sure that it's calm. Don't take for granted that it is calm, and then all of a sudden you're in trouble. So that's my suggestion. That's my best suggestion. But if you can at all, right now the problem is on the border, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. There's too much going on the border. There was a period of time where it was kind of safe and everything else, even though I've given advisories not to go. But there's just too much going on right now for control. There's a lot of fights for control internally within the cartels right now. They're very disfragmented right now on the border. And there's also the threat of another major cartel that wants to take control of this whole area, of the whole Tamaulipas area. So you have a combination, and then of course they're fighting with the government. So there's a lot of things going on right now that I would just not advise coming to the Texas border, to be honest with you. And that's just my personal opinion. I know that I have a lot of opinionated people that will tell me that I've been through the Laredo 50 million times. Actually, I will even tell you that one individual from AnYTHING that's been traveling 15 some odd years came to Laredo through Nuevo Laredo, this was before all the violence, and she almost got stopped by cartel and robbed. And she was able to put the car in reverse. She actually posted the dash cam video of it. So things are getting worse on the border. My thing is just never get this false sense of, when you get into these Facebook groups and these people start telling you, it was totally fine, I've been going through forever. You build a false sense of security. And if you really need to come through that area, then you really need to go through that area. I need to go to, as a matter of fact, pretty soon, I need to go to McAllen, Texas from Monterey. I'm going to have to travel through Reynosa. So I'm going to have to be vigilant of what the situation is in Reynosa. I keep track of what the situation is in Reynosa. I have intelligence people that give me intelligence on what's going on and what the latest. And like I said, friends and everything else. I'm members of Facebook groups in Monterrey that travel to McAllen that they say, hey, no, don't go right now. So that's part of your security, being able to say, you know what, and actually I've even delayed my trip to McAllen several times because of what is going on. So, that's the best thing that I would say. Adrian, you mentioned you don't recommend traveling through Nuevo Laredo. You feel comfortable saying the bus is okay to travel on? You know what, the buses, I've traveled the buses in Mexico. A lot of them are very, very secure. The only risk you run with the buses is there has been cases where the cartel will stop in roadblocks, will stop buses and take people down. I haven't heard of any of those cases lately. If you're gonna take the bus, because I do know that I have family that take the bus from McAllen, down to Monterrey and vice versa, but they go from McAllen. They don't go from Reynosa. They go from McAllen on a bus from McAllen, and they usually take the more well-known bus lines, and they also make sure that they get the VIP bus lines that have VIP. The only problems with traveling on the bus, there's been some issues with South Americans that have rented or chartered buses and ended up, the bus has gone missing, but that's on Highway 50, I forgot the one from San Miguel and Querétaro up north. Buses are normally safe as long as it's a legitimate travel line, but and I haven't heard of any instances. 57, thank you very much, 57. That's the highway where in Matawala where buses have disappeared. But most of those buses were full of South Americans. They were chartered buses. So I haven't heard of any issues with buses being pulled over lately, but it has happened. But I would say that you would be okay with traveling on a bus. But at the same time, I would take the bus from the United States. The other option that you have, and I'm gonna do a shout out to Best Mexico Pet Movers. I'm gonna have to add them to my trusted resources. This is an individual, he's from Merida. And like I said, I don't get paid any money for any endorsements that I give, especially the ones that I'm gonna even say for trusted resources. I don't get any affiliate money from Mexico Relocation Guide or anybody else. But this is a shout out to Alfonso Galindo. He will actually go pick you up in Nuevo Laredo. If you have pets, he'll go pick your pets up if they can't fly and you can fly. He's got a service. The thing about Alfonso, yes, he goes through those areas like Reynosa. He goes through Nuevo Laredo. He goes through all the areas. He'll pick you up. He'll go all the way up north. He'll fly up and drive your car down for you, with you in it. But the thing about contracting Best Mexico Pet Movers is that he keeps track of the situation that's going on in Laredo. He knows when to cross, when not to cross. He knows if there's something going on or not going on. He might even tell you, you know what, I'll go pick you up, but I'm gonna have to pick you up in 3 more days because a lot's going on there. So that's another option. You can have, now it costs money now. It does cost money. You have to contract him and he does charge, and he even has a large van where he'll even move your personal stuff. So if you have a large amount of stuff that you want to move with you, and actually CMT 63, we use Best Mexico Movers, fantastic company. I actually, like I said, I will endorse him all day long. His name is Alfonso, the owner is Alfonso Galindo. He also is the owner of the Mexico Daily Post, which is the newspaper expat, well actually the news in Mexico in English. He does a very great job with the Mexico Daily Post. Actually, I've come out in the Mexico Daily Post many times. But that's another great option. If you don't feel comfortable driving yourself, you hire a driver. And Alfonso will actually fly. Let's say you have your vehicle, you have, excuse me, I hit the table here. But one of the things that Alfonso will do, if you have your own vehicle, you want to bring your own vehicle, he'll even get your tip for you. He'll take you through the process at the border and everything. Well, he won't get the tip for you. You'll still have to bring the paperwork, but he knows where to go. He knows what to do. And he'll either provide the vehicle or he'll fly up to wherever you're at and he'll drive you down. And that's one way. It's an investment well worth it. You know where you're going. He knows where they're going. He knows which highways to take. It's well worth it. And Chasing the American Dream. Hi, Ernie. How are you doing? Actually, I was just mentioning you guys that you were going back, and someone was asking about going through Eagle Pass or where to go through. So, with that being said, that is an option. It does cost money. Sometimes spending the extra money, like I say, on a facilitator, a well-known facilitator on a lot of these things, or an expat service, or the Mexico Relocation Guide to get the right contacts. Like I said, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But maybe it's worth it. It depends on your personal situation. Somebody mentioned that, hey, well, Mexico Relocation Guide really doesn't have a lot of information because I'm married to a Mexican citizen. Well, actually, Mexico Relocation Guide doesn't have that information for you because maybe for a facilitator, but they're more focused on the individuals that are trying to get residency at the consulates and all of that stuff. So you really have to figure it out. But, you know, sometimes spending that extra money, maybe for best Mexico movers or pet movers, I think it's Best Mexico Pet Movers, but I'll leave a link to his website. But maybe using him might be an option. And yes, you're going to pay a couple of $1,000s for him to drive you down or move your stuff or even bring your pet, because a lot of people have pets that are too large to fit in there and they don't want to fly them in the cargo. He'll go pick up your pet. He comes and he takes care of the pet. He sends you pictures all the way back while he's driving back with your pet. So maybe spending that extra $1,000. I know that it sounds like, I don't want to do it. But maybe spending that extra $1,000 or spending that extra money is worth it. Or maybe spending the $500 or actually it's $399, but I got a 10% discount for the Mexico Relocation Guide. Like I said, I don't make any money off of any of this. But maybe spending that $399 is going to be worth your money. That is what I always try to tell you, is you got to make it worth your money. Where you really want to be careful with anything that you pay for is these individuals that want to take advantage of you. Individuals that, you know, try to claim that they're experts and, you know what, pay me $40 and I'll make a video on your question. Honestly, 3/4 of those questions could be answered by just going to the internet, going to Sonia Diaz's website. Why pay $40 to answer a question and do a video unless you want your name mentioned and with a facilitator? And I will tell you that a facilitator was the best money I ever spent. And if I would have known about facilitators, because I kind of went about it blindly when I first did my residency, I would have gotten a facilitator the first time around. And yes, it was an amount of money, but it was an amount of money so I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to go back to the immigration. Now, the immigration process is probably simpler now. And I have had a lot of people tell me, hey, we did it ourselves. Perfectly fine. It was real easy. You know, there's a lot of people that are willing to do that. And you know what? I did it. And I got it done for free. But I also got to the point where the second time around I said, you know what? I don't want to go through the hassle. I'm sorry, but I'll spend the money not to go through the hassle. So, you know, that's where you have to kind of, I guess, balance your stuff out and figure out whether you should pay for this service, whether you should pay for a consultation, whether you shouldn't. You know what? Like I said, I have free consultations. You know what? I have forgotten to put the link. I did do a video on the email address where you could send to get a free consultation, but I give free. And I don't have, there's no catch. No catch. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not putting you on an email list. I'm not selling your data. I'm not doing anything. It's just, I want to offer you something. I'm giving back to the community. And what I want to do, and I will tell you what I do ask for. What I do ask for, not money. What I do ask for is that you pay it forward. That's what's important, is that you pay it forward and you help out other people. That you make those comments on my Facebook group and share your experience. That maybe something that you bring up in my Zoom conference or free Zoom consultation, I can use it as an example to make a video to say, hey, look, this is what you may encounter. I don't know all the situations. I'm gonna wrap it up with that. Any other questions? I've got 40 minutes into my stream. How's my connection going? I hope everybody is seeing me very well and hearing me. I hope I'm not freezing too much, and I hope I'm not actually freezing too much, and also I hope I'm not cutting off too much. Actually, I'll be able to see it when it actually turns into a video. But any other questions? Not bad at all. Well, I'll tell you what, at least it was worth paying the $80 registering only in Mexican auto insurance. Yes, actually, South Dakota plates, I don't know how it is. I know Gringos R Us had an issue because they were cracked line, and basically you don't have to do the inspections, you don't have to go back, and you can register your vehicle, and you just pay your yearly registration fee, and you do have to have Mexican auto insurance. Any vehicle with a tip. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people, remember when I talked about the free zone? A lot of people get these South Dakota plates that live in Baja, and they're in a free zone, so they don't need to get a tip. Also, Quintana Roo is also an area that's a free zone, so you don't need a tip. So what a lot of people do is they get South Dakota plates because they don't want to, well, of course they don't need to import the vehicle, right? They just drive around in an American plated vehicle, and because you don't need a tip, right? The only catch to the Quintana Roo thing is you got to get the car to Quintana Roo, so you need to get a tip. But once they get to Quintana Roo, they actually cancel their tip. But the catch is you do need Mexican auto insurance. I think on the last live stream I touched on this. You can get Mexican auto insurance. You need to carry a liability policy at least. Now, the liability policy, we were talking about $80 a year for Mexican auto insurance. That's just liability. It's just like in the United States. You get a liability policy for $20 or $30 a year, but full coverage costs you $100 or $200. So it's the same thing here in Mexico. You know what? I forgot to ask my wife how much we pay for auto insurance, but we pay on a yearly basis. I want to say it's probably about $1,000 for the year, but it's full coverage. I mean, I have full coverage with $1,000 deductible. I don't think it's quite $1,000. It's probably more like $500. But that's full coverage. But you do have to have liability insurance. You can either get it through a local insurance agent like we do, but we have a Mexican plated vehicle taken into consideration, but some of these Mexican insurance companies will insure U.S. vehicles. There are some companies that specialize in insuring U.S. vehicles. So you do need auto insurance. And I did explain why you need auto insurance here in Mexico. You can end up in jail if you don't have it. And actually, if there's an injury in the accident, both people get detained. No matter what, both people go to jail. And if you have Mexican auto insurance, they'll send their lawyers to get you out of jail as quickly as possible. Actually, sometimes not even, you don't even make it to the jail. They actually detain you, and the lawyers come and they figure out what to do with you. So those are the main things that you want to make sure that you have Mexican auto insurance. But yes, a lot of people use South Dakota plates. Some places in South Dakota, like I said, I know Gringos R Us had an issue, and actually they had to find a mailbox place that I guess wasn't listed on, I guess even the state of South Dakota or has a list of mailbox places, and the place they tried to register their vehicle and get the driver, they even got a driver's license, U.S. driver's license in South Dakota. The place they were saying, we don't accept that, and I think it was more an issue with their driver's license. But there is one county, like I said, that is very, very lenient on issuing your plate. And you don't have to have, and that's the other thing too. For example, in Texas, you have to show proof of U.S. liability insurance. So if I bought if I could, I can't right now, but let's say I bought liability, let's say I had a tip and I have a vehicle and I have it registered in Texas. Actually, a nerd Uno was telling me that you don't need to do this anymore. You can register online, but I still have to show proof of insurance, proof of U.S. insurance. So I'm paying double dipping. I would be paying double. In South Dakota, you're not required to have insurance to renew your registration. So that's one of the advantages of having South Dakota plate. Any other questions or anything else? We're almost at the 50-minute mark. I try to cut it off in an hour, but it never works out at an hour. I'm almost at that hour. I might even be able to cut it off a little bit before the hour. Anything else that anyone wants to ask, bring up? Yeah, I'm in an excellent mood because I'm finally on vacation. We've been building a house for the past year, and we haven't been able to travel, and we decided to come down to Cabo and enjoy the scenery. And as you can see, I have a beautiful view of the famous Arcos here in Cabo. Tomorrow we'll be going to La Paz, and I'll be doing the Hotel California. I took some beautiful drone footage. I'll try to put together, I'm not much of a travel video person, kind of say, I'm not much of a vlogger per se. So hopefully my video of Cabo will be very representative of the place. I've taken some footage here, and hopefully we'll give you a little bit more of a look at Cabo from our point of view. The one thing that we did do here in Cabo is that we did ask locals, how much does it cost to live here locally? One of the things that I've noticed a lot of times is that one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of people talk about coming here, living here for $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. I've already gone over that. But we did ask local people, how much does it cost for a local to actually live here? And one of the locals was telling us, actually he's the one that put our tour together. He said most locals live here for an average salary of, not an average salary, but about $2,000 a month. That's what it costs a local to live here. So it is very doable here. Cabo is a little bit more expensive. One thing that I did notice is everything is actually, it may be a good idea if you want a place that's a little bit more Americanized, I noticed that Baja is a little bit more like California and that type of thing. It's a little bit more expensive too. Actually, for a local to live on $2,000 a month is a lot of money for a local, and compared to other places. But you can make it here on $2,000 a month, but you're gonna have to live like a local. And let me see here. Jay Gomez just tuned in, missed it. I'll just rewind. Actually, Jay, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask now, because I'm still 10 minutes out from Mendy. Let's see, Jack Wallace, the most interesting man in the world. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for the compliment. That's all I can say. Actually, that's what keeps me going on YouTube, is the compliments and the encouragement that you guys give me to keep going. Like I said, because this is not a profit type of thing. That's my just like when I was in law enforcement, my reward was knowing that the bad guy got put in jail, or that I did a successful investigation and I put someone in jail that deserved to be in jail. And I never put someone in jail that didn't deserve to be. Actually, many times I ended up finding the person. I actually, in my investigation, actually would find the person innocent. I actually was able to prove that they weren't doing something illegal when they were suspected of doing something illegal. Many people look at the cops as they're just out to get everybody, or they're just there to make the big case. And that's not true. We're there. We have a system of justice in the United States that you're proven innocent till you're innocent until proven guilty. And a lot of times, my job was to see if you were innocent or not necessarily to prove you guilty. Pat Vega, the American government wants to classify the cartel as a terrorist and use military force against them in Mexico. Mexican territory. Yeah, Pat, I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of that going on in the news. The problem with that, I think a lot of that is political. I think a lot of the, I don't get into politics, to be honest with you, but a lot of that is political rhetoric. A lot of Republicans right now are trying to say, we're going to crack down on the cartels, we're going to stop the drug violence, and now we're going to send the military in. I think even Trump has said that, and I know that there's a big political fight, and I'm on neither side, to be honest with you, because like I said, I don't get into politics. But the problem is right now is that technically, feasibly, coming into Mexico with military and starting to bomb with drones or starting to bomb the cartel, that's what we would call I don't know what they call it officially, but that would mean a declaration of war. And of course, one of the things that people need to understand is that the United States relies heavily on Mexico. Everybody thinks that Mexico relies on the United States, but at the same time, the United States relies on Mexico. And you got to understand, a lot of manufacturing is moving to Mexico. Your iPhone is going to be manufactured in Mexico eventually. Your Tesla is going to be manufactured in Mexico. The last thing any administration wants to do, other than is send military in, get in a war to Mexico, and no longer have iPhones, no longer have Teslas, and no longer have all of these things that are provided by manufacturers here in Mexico. And as a matter of fact, most Chinese companies are coming to Mexico so they can be closer to the United States, because instead of having, as a matter of fact, to circumvent all of these Chinese trade regulations and everything else. If the stuff comes from Mexico, we have a free trade agreement with Mexico. The only way I see military coming in here, to be honest with you, and I worked on a diplomatic level with South American, Central American, to include Mexico on the drug war. I've worked with them. I've worked with many programs. The only way you're going to see military come in here to Mexico is with Mexico saying we need your help, with Mexico accepting the help. And if you see the military coming in, it'll be in a training capacity, or it'll be in a dual operational capacity. But you'll never see the United States come into Mexico and invade, like all of these politicians are saying. It's rhetoric. It's rhetoric to get you to vote for them. I'm sorry, but that's about as political as I get. I'm just going to tell you that's the bottom line. It's rhetoric to get votes. But diplomatically, I can tell you from working on the diplomatic side of the drug war, I mean, I personally worked on it. Diplomatically, it's political suicide to send the military in here, number one, for the country. I'm talking about for this country, for the rest of the nation, the UN, everybody. We would probably even be we would be accused of war crimes, to be honest with you, if we send the military in right now by the United Nations. So, without doing a declaration of war, they can't come into Mexico without Mexico's permission, basically. So, a lot of that's rhetoric. It's not going to happen. I'll tell you what, the United States, for years, I mean, this was since I started, has poured millions and millions of dollars. I even used to say half the military equipment that the military has right now, that they're wearing right now, is paid with US dollars. That's the bottom line. We have too much of a financial interest with Mexico. We've already given Mexico a lot of money. That's not going to happen. Nearshoring, yes, that's going to happen pretty soon. You're going to see nearshoring happening. Tesla's coming to Monterrey. They're going to actually, the location where Tesla's going to do their high-end vehicles, including the Tesla truck, is going to be manufactured in Monterrey. Well, guess what? A lot of the parts on the Tesla truck are sourced in China. So what's China going to do? They're going to bring their companies over here so they can supply Tesla with the parts they need for their vehicle. So you're going to see a lot of that. It's called nearshoring. Nearshoring is basically taking your company and putting it closer to where your customer is. I'm not going to go into the big details of it, but that is one of the reasons why the Mexican peso is so strong right now. You're seeing this really big move towards Mexico. Basically, and I've seen this, I'm not going to say it is, but a lot of people have made a comment that Mexico is the new China, basically, in manufacturing. Yes, it does cost more to manufacture here in Mexico, but the cost of getting the product from here to the United States, from here to Canada, which we have free trade agreements with, is a lot easier than getting it from China to the United States. And I'm not here to play politics. Like I said, I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, China's taking over. I don't care, to be honest with you. I retired a long time ago. My last worry is politics right now, and political rhetoric, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's definitely going to be the new China. Not new China in the sense of an enemy, but the new China is in the sense of your manufacturing. I'm telling you right now, Apple is already looking, actually not Apple, but the actual provider, the supply chain for Apple. I forgot the name of the company right now, but they're putting a plant here in Mexico. Eventually, your iPhone is going to be manufactured here in Mexico. Foxconn will be here. Your iPhone is eventually going to be made here. Your Teslas are going to be eventually made here in Mexico. So that's just something to take note of. Very interesting, and that's one of the reasons. Yep, Foxconn. Actually, nerd. Actually, I beat you to it, nerd. But I thank you for bringing it up. It is Foxconn. But eventually, that's why the peso is doing so strong. Now, there are a lot of things that will affect maybe the exchange rate. I don't see just because not stand up the Mexican economy. I have heard so many, as a matter of fact, there was a famous influencer that even said, well, if the peso goes up, keeps getting stronger, all the Americans going to leave and Mexico's going to fall apart economically because the Americans are going to leave. Well, I have news for you. All the Americans can leave and Mexico's not going to fall apart. Because the thing that people need to understand is that Mexico does rely on the United States, does rely on Canada, but they rely on Canada on the manufacturing end. They rely on the United States on trade. That's what actually is important to Mexico, not tourists. And actually, only, there's an interesting statistic, only 10%, even tourism. Yes, Mexico does make a lot of money, and I've even seen articles saying that tourism and it's so important. Only 10% of Mexico's GDP, only 10% of Mexico's GDP is tourism, and 5% of that is within Mexico, not outside of Mexico, not foreigners. It's inside Mexico. So if you think of the GDP, only 5% is actually U.S. or foreign tourism. And that's an actual number. So, all right. Well, I don't know what ban pinguevi means, Lala, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. We're at an hour. And like I said, thank you very much for coming. I figured I had to do a live stream from here. Like I said, it's just because I had to. Why not? Just remember, like I said, participate, pay it forward, help each other out. That's what the goal on my channel is. And it's not about making money. Nothing in my channel is about making money. No GoFundMe campaigns, no give me money, no donate money, no pay me to answer questions. It's totally free. And it, not only is it totally free, but it's all about helping each other out. It's about you guys helping each other out. I'd like to thank you guys for attending my live stream. I hope it was worth paying the $80 for my internet connection. So, but you know what? Thanks for coming. Thanks for supporting me. Like I said, and salud. I'm drinking water. I haven't been drinking. I'm not a drinker, too much of a drinker. I'm just in a good mood because I'm just in Cabo San Lucas. What more can I say? I've got the best job in the world. Retired. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon, and stay safe and stay informed.